Welcome to Smash Fiction, the podcast where we pit fictional characters against each other in a battle of strength, or wits, or power so godlike that not even Claire can say a damn thing about it, and see who would win. This week, Thor versus Wonder Woman. It had almost been a total catastrophe. A runaway train with no brakes, barreling toward a bend in the tracks that would almost certainly derail it and send it hurtling directly into downtown Broxton, Oklahoma. And it would have been a total catastrophe were it not for the timely arrival of Thor Odinson, Asgardian god of thunder, who stopped the train with no casualties or injuries for the hundreds of shaken passengers on board. As these passengers were helped off the train by rescue workers, Thor had a conversation with the train's conductor, and what he heard infuriated him. "It was a supervillain, all right," said the train's conductor, a woman named Viola Sanderlin. "Black hair, red, blue, and gold costume, crazy glowing lasso. She went through the cabins, robbing all the passengers of their money and valuables, and then came into the engine car and disabled the brakes before flying off. I have heard tell of this villainaire now," Thor muses. "She calls herself Wonder Woman. She was responsible for a bridge collapse in Manhattan and even threw a satellite from orbit down toward London. Fortunately, I was able to intervene both times and save countless lives, but I fear that we've not seen the last of her, and with that level of power at her disposal, she poses a very real threat to all of Midgard. Editor's note, Earth."
I'm so happy.
"She's definitely heard of you too." Seeing the surprised look on Thor's face, Viola continues. "Oh yeah, the whole time she was on the train it was, 'That brainless Thor will never catch me,' or 'I'd say he's overcompensating if his hammer wasn't so pathetic,' or 'Chris Hemsworth is a middling actor at best.'"
Aww.
"Chris Hemsworth is a national treasure," Thor exclaims. His Asgardian blood raised to a boiling point. "Oh, that I knew where this foul hell-spawned woman was, that I might smite her for the good of all." "Oh, that was the other thing," Viola adds. "Right before she left, she said that she was going to be in Coast City, which was in some other universe. Earth 1? Earth 0? New Earth? Prime Earth? One of those, I can't really remember. It definitely sounded like some sort of deep-cut joke satirizing how frequently a fictional world gets rebooted." "I'm not certain what you mean by this, but with the way my hammer hums readily in my hand, it would seem that mighty Mjolnir knows the way. Never fear, mortal. I shall travel to this other universe, find this coast city, and deliver justice unto the woman of wonder, glowing lasso or no." With a spin of his hammer, Thor opens a swirling dimensional rift, which whisks him out of sight. Viola smiles as she is surrounded by flickering green light, transforming into a green-clad figure wearing a set of dramatic golden horns. "Foolish brother," Loki chuckles. "Always so predictable. I've spent so much time trying to get powerful entities from our universe to kill you that I ultimately had to look in other universes to find a champion that may finally be able to topple even Asgard's golden sun. While I wasn't running about in this universe causing havoc disguised as Wonder Woman, I was in her universe, causing havoc while disguised as you, and taunted her into heading to Coast City for a chance to finally defeat the villainous Thor once and for all. Ah, what fools these heroes be. Face front, true believers. Will Wonder Woman's Amazonian might finally humble Thor, or will the Prince of Asgard prove himself worthy of victory over the Princess of Themyscira? I don't know, but I get the feeling there's going to be a lot of collateral damage either way, so I, Dan Mulcairn, will be your judge from the security of my adamantium bomb shelter this week.
Won't help you in this case, I don't think. I'm not sure that's strong enough.
Yeah, you're gonna need something a little bit stronger.
Yeah, I knew I should have invested in that Uru bomb shelter.
I mean, who has the money for that?
Advocating for Wonder Woman are Megan Bob.
In a time of ancient gods, warlords, and kings, a podcast in turmoil cried out for a hero. She was Bob, a mighty princess forged in the heat of Smash Fiction. The power, the passion, the danger. Her bullshit will change the world.
Are you gonna do the trill?
Oh, I was about to make a Wookiee sound. That's the only one I could make it in my brain. I was like, these are the same thing. I was gonna go...
Close enough.
Wookiee princess.
And Miles Schneiderman.
Yeah, I didn't really know what research to do for this match. I started doing it. It seemed really hard, so I just spent all day listening to Blind Guardian and Grimes. Hopefully that helps.
Oh yeah, it certainly couldn't hurt. Advocating for Thor are Claire Mulcairn.
Do I look to be in a gaming mood? I mean, I usually am.
And our special guest this week, Matias Tautimez.
Cross the rainbow bridge of Asgard, where the grand bullshitters roar. You'll behold in breathless wonder the god of thunder, mighty Thor.
Yeah.
Yeah!
Very good. And to clarify, we'll be using post-crisis Wonder Woman for this, and the events of Marvel vs. DC and JLA Avengers will not be considered.
Yeah,
I'm still
to the
mad about
extent
that
that
one.
any of that shit really matters.
Yep, very true. In order to determine who goes first this week, I decided to get into the godly spirit and had the advocates prepare a sacrifice for me. Team Thor presented me with a bounty of fruits and vegetables they had gathered as part of their farming duties. Team Wonder Woman, however, presented me with the sacrifice of the finest sheep from their flock, at which point Team Thor grew jealous and wrathful and murdered Team Wonder Woman.
Oh my god.
Then they hastily said that actually their sacrifice all along was Team Wonder Woman. So, in addition to a mark promising sevenfold vengeance and a one-way trip to the land of Nod, Team Thor has won the honor of going first this week, followed by the vengeful spirits of Team Wonder Woman. Team Thor, I would have words with thee. Or rather, I would have words from thee. And those words are your opening arguments.
If I've learned anything from researching this battle, it's these two things. First, comic book writers have no freaking idea how physics or math work. Second, it's that once you get beyond 1,000, maybe 1,000,000, the numbers start to just mean less and less. It's hard to keep in perspective that the same kind of difference between 1 and 1,000 as it is between a billion and a trillion and a quadrillion. But I urge you to not let the numbers I'm going to start presenting to you become some murky cloud, to not just simply decide that both of these titans are simply unfathomably powerful, but to listen to the math that I've done and see that Thor is orders of magnitude more powerful than Wonder Woman.
Oh my god, how do we get the two of you together? This is ridiculous.
Now, Your Honor, I'm aware that you're both fond of role-playing and lists, so today I'll be comparing these two characters utilizing the stat system from Fallout.
I'm listening.
Hashtag you are special. So that's strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. So let's take a look. For strength, now Wonder Woman is supposed to be somewhere around Superman's level, and we know that one time, along with the Martian Manhunter and Superman, she pulled the planet Earth. So given about a third of the weight, she moves somewhere around 2.2 quintillion metric tons. But the Asgardian god of thunder and strength has lifted the Midgard serpent, snapped adamantium alloy cables by flexing, and held together a moon. Do you want numbers? Because he hurled a chunk of star core into an orbiting moon bomb thing with a minimum weight of 993.785 septillion tons, and he threw it like a football. He was crushed under an energy field with the weight of a score of planets, and for those that don't know, that means 20, that had a minimum weight of 6.5 sextillion tons, 132 if they were Earth-sized. Thor lifts up one arm underneath all that to grab Mjolnir, so with one arm, he's lifted at least 6.5 sextillion tons. Let's talk perception. Wonder Woman has the hunter's eye and enhanced senses. What does that mean? Hell if I know, the DC wikis are horrible. But
Amen!
Thor, he can see to the edge of the solar system. He can hear things on the opposite side of the planet, and he can track objects traveling faster than the speed of light. Let's look at endurance. Wonder Woman survived an atomic explosion once, but despite that, she's still susceptible to piercing weapons such as arrows and bullets and axes. Thor has survived blasts from celestials. He's invulnerable to energy blast, explosion, telepathy, disease, toxins, poisons, corrosive, fires, viruses, electrocution, asphyxiation, heat, sub-zero temperatures, lead poisoning, radiation poisoning, and he even flew through the heart of the stars. Not gonna bother to hashtag Danlist that. No time. He can fight at peak capacity for months, without sleep, without rest. He fought the legions of the dead for 80 days straight. Let's talk charisma. Wonder Woman can empathize with people. Thor is a talented public speaker, inspiring the armies of Asgard on multiple occasions. He's a master tactician, and if you don't speak English, that's fine, he's got the all-tongue. And if none of that works, he can just alter your memory. Now, intelligence. Wonder Woman, of course, has the wisdom of Athena, which puts her roughly on the level of Batman or the Martian Manhunter. Your Honor, the opposition may try to convince you that Thor is a lunkhead, and I won't deny that his MCU persona does give that impression, but let's just think about this for a minute. Thor is literally a doctor, a scientist. He built an android with an IQ of 375. For comparison, Stephen Hawking is 160, Tony Stark, roughly the same. Let's talk agility. Let's get into that speed. Wonder Woman's been clocked at Mach 5, but my research suggests at her best she might be able to get up to light speed. Thor, he struck down Quicksilver, whose top speed is faster than light, and claimed that he fought faster than that. He's flown to the sun and back in just minutes. He hurled Mjolnir to the furthest edge of the galaxy, and it returned in 60 seconds. From the Earth to the opposite edge of the galaxy, we're looking at 441 quadrillion miles. So there and back in 60 seconds means it traveled 78,912,448,320 times the speed of light. And luck? Well, in my experience, there is no such thing as luck, but one of them got their comic turned into a movie alongside Batman v Superman, and the other is in the MCU, so which one do you think is the lucky one?
Hot takes.
Oh, wow.
Oh, I feel that in my balls.
I also feel that in Miles' balls. That really hurt.
But that is far from all. In terms of other powers, Thor has super breath strong enough to create hurricane force winds. Through his ability to channel something known as the God Force, his words, not mine, he has energy manipulation powers on par with the Silver Surfer and Zeus. His dual lineage as a child of the elder goddess Gaia also means that Thor has the ability to control the element of Earth, summoning fissures and avalanches that can stretch across continents. In some versions of Wonder Woman, she herself is made of clay and needs to meld with the Earth in order to heal, so if she ever does so in this match, Thor can most certainly earthbend her sorry ass to shreds. Also, Miles is giving me such an evil look right now, it's great.
just the worst point you could have made.
Also, Thor has shown on multiple occasions that he is immune to mental domination. He was able to break out of a spell that he was put under by Morgan Le Fay in Avengers 3 Volume 2, and he resisted the effects of an artifact known as the Eye of Horus in Thor 326. In Thor 135, while Thor was grappling a creature known as the Super Beast, the beast decided to try to use its psychic powers to attack Thor's mind. This, however, split the creature's focus, and Thor, who was completely immune to the beast's attack, got the advantage and incapacitated the beast. Am I saying that Thor might be able to resist the effects of the lasso of truth? Yes, I am. Assuming Wonder Woman can even hit Thor with that slow-ass floppy noodle of an attack, I mean, we see Power Girl dodging that attack pretty easily in Wonder Woman 41. But that's enough foreplay. I think we all know why you tuned into this episode this week. Let's talk about Mjolnir. Y'all know about adamantium, right? That stuff that Wolverine's skeleton is made of. And y'all know about vibranium, right? That's the stuff that Captain America's shield is made of. Those might as well have the respective durability of graham crackers and iPhone screens compared to Uru, which is so dense that it can only be forged by magic dwarves in the heart of a star, and doing so makes the star explode. This hammer is so dense that it can shatter the armor of celestials. And in addition to the fact that, as Matias mentioned, Thor can throw this thing at 78 billion times the speed of light. It also grants Thor a bunch of other nifty powers, such as the ability to let Thor teleport, or turn invisible, or turn intangible, or create magic barriers that are impenetrable. It also enhances the power of his lightning so much that it can incapacitate foes such as literal Hercules, and it can enhance the power of his God Blast attack, again, his words not mine, to such a degree that it can one-shot foes as powerful as Galactus and Ego the Living Planet. But one of the powers that I'm most interested in talking about today is his ability to negate magic. Thor has called upon this power to strip away the invulnerability that was granted to Juggernaut by the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak, which allowed him to fight the normally indestructible super mutant as if he were anybody else. So what you're saying is that Thor once used his hammer to negate the invulnerability of his foe that was being generated by their ancient magic bracelets? Yes. And if you're going to be like, Wonder Woman can't be killed by blunt attacks, only by piercing attacks, I have two things to say to that. One, although she hasn't been killed by blunt force before, she has been knocked out or knocked down by blunt attacks before, and so a hit from Mjolnir might not kill her, but it'll probably concuss her enough to completely incapacitate her for a minute or two. And two, who said Thor only had blunt attacks? That's right, everyone. Let's talk about Jarnbjorn. Jarnbjorn?
Yarnbjorn.
Yarnbjorn.
You know, it's like String Bjorn, but it's a little bit thicker.
Right. Yarnbjorn is Thor's secondary weapon. A bit of a Luigi to Mjolnir's Mario. Less famous, but not necessarily all that less impressive. It may not have quite as lengthy of a Dan list of powers, but it is nonetheless an axe which is made of, you guessed it, Uru, and sharp enough to cut through any normal matter and has been magically enchanted to be indestructible, even withstanding energy attacks from beings as strong as Apocalypse. So, these two are cosmic level heroes, right? They're basically on the same level, right? Well, hopefully all this has shown you that Thor is a true cosmic hero, but Wonder Woman? She's semi-cosmic. She's quasi-cosmic. She's the margarine of cosmic. She's the Diet Coke of cosmic. Just 1 calorie, not cosmic enough.
Oh.
And the clouds broke, and the heavens sounded, and the opening arguments of Thor did close mightily. Now we come to Team Wonder Woman's opening arguments. Team Wonder Woman, can your bracelets deflect Team Thor's bullshit bullets?
I mean, yes. Is that it? Are we done? So, this is a little bit weird for me to say, but to start things off, let's talk about divinity. Whether she was the product of a high-level pottery class at Asgard Community College, or simply one of the characters in Homer's long-lost epic poem, Zeus, Olympian Horn Dog, Wonder Woman's power set is unmatched and thoroughly ridiculous. Thor is the god of thunder, and that's great for him because he's very strong and very tough and he can do lightning stuff. Wonder Woman received divine gifts from 6 different deities, and while I think these are actually the least impressive advantages she has over Thor, let's go through them real quick.
First up, the gifts of Demeter, which include godlike levels of strength and durability, along with a healing factor. Diana is strong enough and tough enough that she regularly beats the shit out of Kryptonians, including everyone's favorite blue and red Boy Scout, his cousin, and her clone. I'm not going to say this right, Dan, Hecatea, how do you say Greek things?
Hecatea is how I would say it.
All right, done. In Hecate.
Yeah.
She punched Batman out of a building, and he ran the fuck away like you're supposed to when you get punched out of a building. I'm vengeance! I am the night! Oh god, why? Adding to Wonder Woman's physical stats are the gifts of Hermes, who added the dexterity portion, both flat-out speed, which has been compared to that of the Flash, and agility and reflexes, which when combined with her training as the supreme Amazonian warrior, make her faster than Superman in combat. I didn't say that. Batman did. In Wonder Woman Volume 2, when the Shattered God flings God bits at Diana at incredible speed, she deflects them all with her bracelets. I don't care how fast they're going. What I care about is the fact that they are all arriving simultaneously and coming at her. It's easy to block one thing. It's another thing entirely to block multiple things coming at you at the same time. Multiple attacks and fast attacks are well within her ability to avoid or deflect. Thor can come down at her with planet-shattering attacks, but it won't matter if she's moved out of the way. Well, I assume the Earth would care, but Diana will be fine.
Also adding to Diana's combat skills are the mastery of tactics and just insane levels of intelligence and empathy granted her by Athena. She can basically do all the science, lead all the peoples, and speak most of the languages, and thanks to the gifts of Artemis, that includes talking to animals, which she can then presumably negotiate with. Take from that what you will. I will merely point out that Coast City didn't get its name for being landlocked, and the DC universe is a place where krakens exist. Artemis also gave Diana superhuman senses, which will definitely help her see Thor coming from miles away, hear Thor declaring very loud, very Norse statements from miles away, and of course, smell Thor from miles away and deduce that he's drunk. Okay, maybe not that last one, but not necessarily not that last one. Finally, the gift of Hestia associates Wonder Woman with fire to the point that it can't hurt her, and that she can channel it through her lasso of truth. And Aphrodite gave her beauty, because Aphrodite is that friend, but which we should still come in handy here, considering we're dealing with someone who can't bring himself to stop messing around with Lorelei and the Enchantress, despite knowing for a fact by now that they are Lorelei and the Enchantress. Thor has a documented tendency to see a beautiful woman and immediately underestimate her. Sif. And he can't afford to do that against Diana.
Wonder Woman is powerful. Maybe one of the most powerful characters in the DC universe. Maybe the most powerful character in the DC universe. She gave part of her soul to Darkseid and made him turn a little bit good. And he's probably still crying about that. She conquered the soul of a dude stronger than her. Not his armies, not his weapon, his fucking soul. Wonder Woman brushes off exactly the kind of thing Thor brings. Repeated blows, melee combat, loud noises. She is down for all of that. Diana intentionally blinds herself during her fight with Medusa and then cuts off the Gorgon's head in some sword and sandals combat in Yankee Stadium. Seriously, what the fuck is your problem, DC? Wonder Woman can take Zoom's white dwarf punches and then lasso him while blind. Thank you, Auntie Artemis, for those super senses. Wonder Woman doesn't even need to have her eyes open to catch someone on the offense and more powerful than she is. She's just that kind of insanely durable, unstoppable Amazon that gets thrown into molten metal and walks out of it like she's Bo Derek in 10.
But I don't think god powers are even the most important thing in this fight. I think the most important thing is conviction. Wonder Woman has an unshakable belief in herself. Sure, when she was given the mantle of God of War, she had a bit of a hard time adjusting to the idea that she had divine responsibilities that involved battle, but she eventually accepted her duty and became a truly terrifying kind of warrior. The kind that loves you completely, understands you completely, but knows that you have to die. It's not many people that can wear the same horned helmet as Ares and also be given a star sapphire lantern ring. Thor, on the other hand, has always been defined by secret fears. Fear of his own godhood, for one thing. Thor is constantly wrestling with the pros and cons of divinity. In issue 18 of the 2001 Captain Marvel series, Thanos enlists Thor's help in saving death, like actual death, the one Thanos is in love with. When Thor wonders if it wouldn't be better if death died and humanity became immortal, Thanos points out that death gives life meaning, saying, quote, "Is it that your own immortality weighs upon you, leaves you wondering whether your own existence has purpose because it is not finite? Answer true, Thunderer. Does the end of death interest you because you fancy mankind would embark on a golden age, or does misery simply enjoy company?" Thor has no response to this. The only person who does is one of the story's side characters who merely says, again quoting, "Ouch, score 1 for Purple Puss."
Thor fights some seriously powerful enemies, but he doesn't fight a whole lot of problem solvers like Diana. Yes, Batman says that Wonder Woman is faster in combat than Superman, and that she's the greatest melee fighter in the world, but she's also exceptional at fighting people who are OP as frick. When she fights mind-controlled Superman in Wonder Woman Volume 2, Issue 219, she sneaks up behind him, while he has his super hearing turned on, mind you, and clangs her bracelets against his ears. He goes down screaming and bleeding from those ears. She is smart enough to find the weakness in a strength, fast enough and stealthy enough to exploit it. Thor is exceptionally strong, but in taking on foes, he rarely has to go outside of his comfort zone of hammer smashing. Diana doesn't even have to separate Thor from Mjolnir to hurt him. The Hulk grabs Thor's hammering arm and bonks Thor in the face with it. I bet it's real hard to move that arm up to Thor's face. Diana is well up on hand-to-hand, though, and it's a hell of a lot easier to smash someone's face down onto a blunt object from behind. She's practical. Wonder Woman doesn't love pulling a dick move, but she broke Max Lord's neck in front of the perpetually kicked dog that is Superman. You think she won't smack Thor's face into his own hammer when no one's looking?
Yeah, especially because Thor is also secretly afraid that he's not worthy to wield Mjolnir, which we see over and over again, but maybe most notably in the story that introduces Beta Ray Bill. Thor is a big emo mess in that arc. Half his lines are like, "No, the hammer belongs to Bill. I am not worthy. I must never be seen in Asgard again. I consign myself to life as a mortal, boo." And let's not forget the fact that the whole reason he becomes unworthy to wield Mjolnir in Original Sins is because Nick Fury tells him, "Gore was right," referring to Gore the God Butcher, which reinforces Thor's belief that all gods suck. In other words, Fury defeated Thor with insecurities. Wonder Woman is going to have this battle won on the mental level regardless of anything that happens on the physical, especially if she gets that lasso of truth around the lughead and takes away his ability to lie to himself. Let me put it this way. Thor's iconic piece of equipment is Mjolnir, a tool that enhances his powers, but that he lives in fear of losing. Wonder Woman's iconic piece of equipment is her bracers, but losing them only makes her more powerful. Thor needs his hammer. All Diana needs is herself.
Excellent job, Team Wonder Woman. A showing worthy of the God of War. And now, as prophecy has foretold, we come to rebuttals. Team Thor, Odin's blood!
So the thing I'm hearing is that you're saying Thor's power is tied to Mjolnir, but Thor has existed through thousands of cycles of Ragnarok before Mjolnir was ever forged. That was the whole point of the axe. It's what he had before Mjolnir. His powers, while enhanced by Mjolnir, are not tied to it. He still has access to everything. His weather control, his speed, his strength, his regeneration is all part of who he is as a person. The aforementioned star core that I told you about was him hurling it when he had no access to Mjolnir. He was basically just Tarzaning it up in a loincloth when someone was like... They were just basically like, hey, we've got this star core bomb. And he's like, hey, I'm a god, I'll throw it.
I mean, yeah, I don't think we're arguing that, like, he would lose his powers if he doesn't have Mjolnir. Like, that's clearly not true. But he does use it a lot. He's awfully reliant on Mjolnir. Not that he can't do anything without it, but, it definitely losing it would be a blow, and losing it would also maybe allow Wonder Woman to pick it up, so that's a thing, too.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, come on. We all know it's true. We're not going to say it, but we
she
all...
could.
There's two instances that you mentioned in Wonder Woman's two fights she had that I think you're kind of misrepresenting what happened there. So the first one was Wonder Woman 219, where she fights Superman. Basically what happens is she starts fighting Superman, and he grabs her and is flying her into the sun, and the only reason she doesn't die is because she happens to have some kryptonite on her at the time, and she pulls it out and shoves it in his face, and then he has to let go of her. And later, she only temporarily stuns him with the bracer thing, and she has to kill the dude who's mind controlling him because she knows that she won't be able to keep him at bay forever, and she can at best hold Superman back temporarily. She has to kill that guy because she fails to beat Superman.
I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Comics Alliance listicle entitled 15 Times Wonder Woman Fought Superman. There was another time while she was the God of War where she just straight up beat the shit out of him. She punches him out.
The other one I want to talk about is the time when she was fighting Medusa. She fought her in hand-to-hand combat, and she lost to her 3 times in combat there, and Medusa only didn't beat her because she was trying to turn Wonder Woman to stone. If she was willing to just stab her, she could have killed her. She actually does stab her through the gut one time, and she's basically bleeding out. She blinds herself as a last resort to not die, but, she was not doing that well in that fight. She lost because Medusa was overconfident, not because she was skilled.
Oh gosh, who could be overconfident in this fight?
You're citing this fight against Superman over and over and over again, and that is key because she knows Superman, has fought Superman over and over again, and can prepare for Superman. She's never actually fought Thor, unless you want to count some of these.
She doesn't have any Asgardite.
Yeah. Well, no, okay, fair enough. I mean,
no, I like that
I said, she's also fought the entire Greek pantheon, so if you want to go into some other examples, we can.
And
Are
so
we going to
has
be doing
Thor.
dick measuring of the gods that we fought now?
I don't know. All I know is that Wonder Woman put an axe
can.
in Ares' head.
A lot of the times when Wonder Woman fights people who are stronger than her, she ends up not defeating them, but she accomplishes her goal in some other way and kind of negates the need for the fight, and they kind of go away. Like when she beat Superman by cracking the dude's neck, that kind of thing. But there's no, alternative objective here. She can't outthink this. She has to fight Thor.
As long as she gets him to stop, which is really the point, then, the thing is over. And obviously she does do hand-to-hand combat because otherwise she wouldn't get into these situations where she has to punch out Superman. She just has a lot more, quivers in her... What is it? Quivers in her bow?
She has more quivers in her arrow.
No,
no, that's not right.
Quivering arrows stuck inside of bows.
You're trying to play off every time that he doubts himself as him being crippled by these terrible insecurities, and then you're also trying to play him off as being overconfident. In truth, that's just him being well-rounded and prone to self-reflection, and he goes through times where he questions his own worth, and he reflects and thinks about himself, and he self-analyzes because he's a very smart person. As we said, he's super smart and self-aware. You can't have it both ways with this thing. He's either overconfident or he's not confident, and I think over time you see he's very well-rounded.
That's ridiculous, because you can absolutely act overconfident to cover up for your hidden insecurity.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Everyone does that.
I was gonna say,
I mean,
almost every narcissist has low self-esteem.
But if you read, like, throughout all of the unworthy Thor, he doesn't have, like, hardly any of his normal powers. He's, like, severely weakened, but even though he has some doubts, whenever it comes down to it, whenever there's a fight, it never holds him back. He still is always able to operate at maximum level, even when he's not endowed with his godlike powers.
I mean, he has a complicated relationship with his own godhood. I think in the specific case of the unworthy Thor, you know, his doubt in the gods as a concept of something that's good was the reason that he lost the ability to wield Mjolnir. He's able to certainly continue, I would argue not as before, because his character is pretty fundamentally changed after that. But his...
I mean, he kicks the Collector's ass even without that much power, so...
Well, I mean, that's fine. The Collector's not much of anything. I mean, it's not hard to kick the Collector's ass.
I think he's a Celestial, right?
It's easier to beat him because of his insecurities than it would be otherwise.
All right. That is it. The judge recognizes that the Collector is an Elder of the Universe, not a Celestial.
Whatever. I knew he was one of them.
Team Thor does get points for giving us the subtitle for this particular match, which is, of course, Dick Measuring of the Gods. So, and now, Team Wonder Woman, Suffering Sappho!
Ah, yay. Bisexuals for days.
So the first thing I wanted to say is, y'all made a big deal about the fact that Wonder Woman, while she is nearly impervious to concussive force and, like, blunt force damage, is vulnerable to piercing. You didn't mention that Thor is as well. When he is hurt badly, it is usually a piercing weapon, the fang of the Midgard serpent, that kind of thing. I want to point out that Wonder Woman has a sword that carves ions off of atoms. She's coming into this thing with a sword that Superman touched and started bleeding heavily, which is, of course, a slashing and piercing weapon. And Thor's coming in with the hammer, you know, which is the bludgeoning weapon. I don't think he's ever dual-wielded the hammer and the axe, so, you know, I'm assuming he's coming in at least using the hammer first. In comics, piercing and slashing weapons are generally deadlier than bludgeoning and concussive force. You look up online and you can see things like, you know, on like Wikipedia's list of American comic book characters who have died, 10 of them have died as a result of beating, bludgeoning, or hammering, whereas 41 have died as a result of slashing, stabbing, or impaling.
Wow.
We can play
We're
match
going here.
too.
Okay.
Which might be the reason why in the Marvel Superheroes RPG, getting a red result with a blunt weapon attack gives you a stun. A stun is what you get with a yellow result on an edged weapon attack. If you get a red, that's a kill. So, yes, she might be more vulnerable to piercing than to bludgeoning, but Thor is as well, and we're the one with the ion slicing sword. You have a hammer.
You want to talk about slicing ions? Okay, let's talk about slicing ions.
Oh boy, here we go.
So
Electrons, actually.
Electrons, that's right. Yeah, because electrons off of atoms. That's what she says in Kingdom Come.
Sure, yeah.
So if it was really able to do that to the degree that she says it would, I read some stuff about it online, and it said basically every time she moved it, it would ionize the air and create lightning around the sword, and we don't see that happening when she moves it, and we do see that it can do this sort of thing every once in a while, like when Superman takes it, he's able to, like, one time pierce a specific uranium atom to make, like, a nuclear explosion with it. Yeah. But she says she can't do it herself and hands it off to Superman to do it.
She can't do it herself because she can't see the atom.
Exactly. And whenever she swings it around, we're not seeing lightning all over the place, so she's not necessarily like
how
cutting
metal
atoms.
would that be?
That tells me she can't utilize it to its full potential.
So it might happen
Okay.
sometimes, but she's not necessarily accurate enough to cut through things that way. You may have to be better with the sword than she is.
I mean, the edge of the sword, Superman touched it and he started bleeding. At some point, the edge of the sword is the edge of the sword,
I'm
and if
aware,
it hits you, you get hurt.
But Thor also has magical barriers and stuff, and he has a magically indestructible axe. So
also, I'm sorry, are we bringing physics into this? Because a lot of the things that Thor's shit is supposed to be able to do, he can't actually do without coming up with its own little effect. So I don't think you have a leg to stand on there, ma'am.
Oh, God. I can't believe we're wading into these waters. Thor can lift a score of planets and all that. How can he walk on the earth? Like, how can he move? Everything
I have something
should
to
break
say, no.
around him. He should not be able to touch his own body without ripping off parts of it because he is so unfathomably powerful.
Can I respond to that? Or
I mean, I don't know what there is to respond with. Like, obviously he does. The rule is none of this shit is like functions with physics.
No. See, this is what we're trying to stop, is you just being like, none of it matters, and you can't think about it. We're going to think about it, and we're going to talk about it.
Okay, all
Thor
right.
states in an issue of the Avengers, I don't have the issue in front of me right now, it's a slightly older one, that whenever he fights mortals, or whenever he's around mortals, he has the ability to make his strength lesser, so that he doesn't just, like, atomize Norman Osborn with like a stray right hook, because he can do that, but he has the ability to turn his strength down.
At one point, Wonder Woman fights the literal goddess of violence, who she says hits harder than Kal-El, and whose every blow is like being hit by the hammer of Thor. And she's like, totally
She
fine.
has no point
in
of
that
reference.
fight.
She's talking out of her ass. She's gonna learn what it's like to get hit by the hammer of Thor now.
Also, the shit that you guys are talking about by the metal is like super overblown. Fucking when Odin forges Stormbreaker, there's no heart of a star there. They just go and do it. He's like, hey, dwarves, you want to do me a favor? And they're like, I don't know, you want to give this bully in our team a wife? And he's like, sure.
Oh, that's
Norse
Do we
mythology's
have
great.
confirmation that we're sure that there was no stars involved? They didn't have like a little star?
There were no stars involved.
Okay, wait. I want to make a different point that's not about like astronomy.
Okay, go.
We didn't really have time to touch on all of Wonder Woman's incredible shit, but you wanted to talk about Thor's like imperviousness and all that other stuff. Whenever she takes her bracers off, she becomes even more powerful. Her bracers are there to put like brakes on her power, so that way she doesn't, decapitate somebody with a right hook, as it were. So whenever those come off, shit's gonna get real. She also has her like slicey tiara of death that cut open Superman's throat, more than a bit. And then on top of that,
More than a bit.
whenever she clangs her like bracers together or brings them together in this particular way, in this kind of cute, adorable, sexy volleyball way, it flings lightning at people.
Oh, not lightning!
Okay.
What are we gonna do?
Not lightning. The one thing that Thor certainly has a command over. Thor has command over so many things, he's one element away from Captain Planet.
The point is that y'all were trying to make it out as though Wonder Woman doesn't have a massive arsenal of crazy shit she can throw at you, and she absolutely does, and Thor will be completely unprepared for it.
Her arsenal is pointless. It is not in the same order of magnitude as Thor's. You talk about the bracers of submission. Thor has the Warrior's Madness, which does the same thing. If he's already on a higher level and it boosts him up, I mean,
Yeah, she has something beyond that as well.
If he does the Warrior's Madness, then he can't control himself, and also he becomes racked with guilt because using that is an incredible
He's
fucking
racked
sin.
with guilt afterwards
Yeah.
by the time that Wonder
he
Woman's
can
gonna be a
racked
freaking
with
like
guilt
smear.
after he's beaten her.
Yeah.
Okay, he does the Warrior's Madness, Wonder Woman takes off the bracers. They both get a power level boost. Thor is out of control, Wonder Woman is still in control.
All right, I can see we're getting into DVZ territory here, so
Yeah.
I'm going to pump the brakes on this.
That's probably a good call.
I think we're all experiencing the Warrior's Madness a little bit right now.
I think a
Just a little bit.
yeah.
I mean, maybe you are. I'm perfectly in control.
I'm getting ready to take my bracers off, and you're not gonna like that.
You wouldn't like me when
I
I'm
mean,
angry.
you're not wearing any bracers, so I don't know what that even means.
Exactly.
Mind games aside, when gods collide, worlds tremble, the works of men brace themselves, and your CGI budget goes through the roof. In the end, this isn't a battle which will be solved by might of arm or keenness of mind, but by the oldest form of combat, the lightning round. Now,
Wonder Woman, put that away.
I would like to recognize here that the inclusion of the lightning round may in fact give Thor an unfair advantage, so I would like to simultaneously introduce the lasso round! The battle has left both Wonder Woman and Thor exhausted, their costumes strategically ripped, and their bodies covered in dust, but not otherwise really that badly hurt from an aesthetic standpoint. As they square off, preparing for one last charge that will decide the winner once and for all, an ear-splitting roar fills the air and shakes the ground. A gigantic lion bounds down, seemingly from nowhere, landing between the two and cautions them to lay down their weapons. The lion introduces himself as Aslan. He explains that he's watched all this
I was
transpire.
hoping you were gonna zag, but then you just zigged right into it.
Yep. He explains that he's watched all this transpire and reveals that Thor and Wonder Woman have been duped into fighting each other by Thor's own deviously deceptive sibling, Loki. Unfortunately, Loki has apparently vanished ever since setting this plot in motion, so the two warrior gods don't even have the satisfaction of hunting down the trickster god and pulling out some righteous fury. Before the two superheroes can become too morose by this turn of events, Aslan reveals another way of striking out against Loki. It seems that Loki has been spending more and more time working on a very popular prank show on YouTube, which has attracted millions of followers and has become Loki's latest pastime. If Wonder Woman and Thor really want to avenge themselves and get some Justice League, the best way to do so would be to dethrone Loki's YouTube show by creating a show which is even more popular. So, advocates, your battle has now shifted to the strange realm that these mortals refer to as cyberspace. You must create a YouTube show that will get you those clicks and attract as many worshippers, or followers as they prefer to be called, as possible. What sort of show will you have? Give me an example or two of what some of your episodes would deal with, and explain why your show will be more popular than not only Loki's, but your opponent's as well. Team Thor went first in the main round, so Team Wonder Woman will be going first in the lasso round.
So, in line with tutorials, Diana is going to have, I'm going to say a kind of tutorial, but she's not going to be describing how to fold a towel. She's not going to be describing like makeup or sort of any kind of how to make a particular dish. It's going to be her telling you how to fight and disarm an opponent and possibly kill them. However, she's going to make sure that she does it in a really soft, breathy voice so that way you have lots of brain tingles and it makes you feel really like somebody's very close to you and is taking good care of you. And it's going to be called Diana of Thea ASMR Skira. I realize that this has a pretty particular audience, although I do feel like that the violence of it might, I mean, there's not going to be all the violence will be cartoony, like she's going to draw in the blood splatters and stuff. But, I think some of the like gentler vor folk might be into it, or no, not vor. What are they? The people who are super into like violence, but not honestly being eaten. Fuck, they're in with the Vors now.
Wow, that is a sexual Piccadilly that I was not at all aware of.
Oh, at least it's not just me. I know. I was thinking that, like, you gotta have someone to demonstrate this shit on, right? So, like, I figure she grabbed this, like, immortal blonde beefcake dude that's, like, just can't die, but also can't do anything else and is just kind of an idiot. And just, like, kills him on every episode.
But, softly and gently, and he looks so happy about it every time.
Absolutely. He's got this big, stupid grin on his face.
He's like, yeah, this is the best. And then...
He's a doctor!
Hey, who said I was talking about Thor?
Yeah, we were talking about Donald Blake, obviously, not Thor.
Also, he totally didn't go through medical school. Don't give me that shit.
So there's going to be the episode where Diana explains in a soft, gentle voice how to use a lasso to tie up bad guys so they don't bother you while you're trying to do other things. And then the episode where Diana explains the best place to punch someone so that they go down quickly, and then also, like, tidies them out of the way, because there's nothing worse than a bunch of people just like lying all over your living room floor.
If you really need us to explain why a show featuring a woman whose beauty was gifted to her by Aphrodite, talking very softly and slowly about tying people up, why that would be popular, then I'm not the one who needs to spend more time on the internet around here.
I mean, ultimately, we all just want someone super nice and hot to say things to us that make us feel loved, and also, like, we could fucking kill someone. And Loki's channel does not provide that service.
Yeah, Loki's channel is fucking cheap tricks, and, like, it's a thing that you get over pretty quickly and becomes boring after a few episodes.
Pranks are the fart jokes of adulthood.
Yeah, exactly. And Loki, just rolling in with that kind of Asgardian humor. It's a little bit removed. It's a little elitist, I imagine that Thor's show will be similar. Just, maybe get a few people at first, and then it's going to tail off real quickly. Plus, he's just going to get bored and move on to something else. He doesn't have the commitment.
Wow, I never expected to hear a prank show described as elitist before, but that's an interesting take.
Or as guardian humor.
Yeah.
Well, it's all like peasants walk like this,
Well, that sounds like a very good YouTube channel, but what's this that's popping up? It's Thor's channel. Huh. Well, let's give this a click and see what it's all about.
Megan Bob, you used to be my favorite, and then you took this from me. You took this from me.
Yes.
And now I've had to do everything right on the fly.
Oh, you're not going to go with it?
Thor ASMR?
Yeah. That was what we were going to do. I mean, it's going to be a little different. Do you want to tell them about it or no? We can go a different direction.
I think it's appropriate that both of them have an ASMR vlog.
I feel like...
Yeah, just go with it.
Matias, this just means that we're soulmates. I don't know why you're upset about this.
All right, well, you see, the problem here is ASMR is about the brain tinglies. It's not so much about the information that you're getting. It's about that autonomous sensory meridian response. All right, so Thor, being the god of thunder, of course, and having that booming voice, he takes precautions. His 360-degree binaural mic is buried in the heart of a star several light years away, so that when he booms, you get, "Hi, this is Thor." Right here, I have Mjolnir. Let me run my fingernail across Mjolnir real quick. Do you hear that? You hear that scraping sound?
I hear it.
Those tingles? Yeah. Now let me go to the other side of that star. And then he just zooms over there in about half a second. And the listener's like, whoa, now Thor's on my left side. Whoa, he's right behind my neck. And they get those tingles. The tinglies. And of course, you need background noise. So of course he's got the rain going. So he's got, that nice pitter patter of raindrops falling. And because, of course, he's hundreds of miles away, he's, banging that hammer on meteorites and stuff, but it's coming across as piff, piff, piff. Nice, tiny, gentle sounds to lull the listener into that nice brain orgasm-y feeling before they drift off.
What do you people do with your lives?
Experience happiness, Miles.
That sounds awful.
I have another thing that he's going to be doing on the side as well. So he has another YouTube channel as well because he's diversifying. It's called Pimp Yawn Vessel.
That wasn't a YouTube channel. That was a real show.
But he's bringing it to the web. I mean, all these shows are just premiering on the web now. So yeah, basically he's remodeling people's cars, and largely it consists of taking out their engines and replacing them with magic goats that run on treadmills.
Oh my God.
And also, these are magic goats that you can, if you ever get hungry, you can slay them for food, and then they regenerate the next day.
Poor tooth grinder.
And of course, all of the wheels on his cars, of course, have enough traction to drive on rainbow bridges and that sort of thing.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Beer taps placed inside, all of the latest Odin ship technology, that kind of thing, so...
Oh my God.
Personal hair salons, and hair dryers on the backs of all of the chairs to keep your coif looking at its best.
Okay.
There's little robotic hands that come out of the seats that can help oil your biceps, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, sure.
Oh my God.
All I know is in our Let's Play video, you get knocked right off the Rainbow Road, buddy. That's all I gotta say.
Your car remodeling show is doing not nearly as well as ours because yours is just turning all of them invisible, and that totally doesn't work for a video format.
Well, I mean, then you just get the soft, soothing noises of jet engines?
Well, I mean, I was going to have her have a sideshow where she just gives advice to young lesbians, but that seems like that would attract a crowd I don't really want.
Much better than the ASMR crowd.
Yeah, well, I want it to just attract young nervous lesbians, but no.
The ASMR crowd is apparently right here.
Oh.
Well, this has been a wild and unpredictable ride, and it's given me a lot to consider, so I'm going to step away for a few moments, and I'm definitely going to be spending my time thinking very deeply about this, and definitely not just playing with my Marvel and DC action figures. So anything you might hear which sounds like me making explosion noises with my mouth is static. Yeah, static.
Okay,
Make the
fix the
explosions
pose.
very soft.
Swear to God. What even is all this?
I can't believe
Comic book matches are the worst.
Is this the first time that we've ever had the same thought in a
Lightning
lightning
round?
round?
I think so.
It is the first time I've ever had the same thought with you.
I mean, I feel like this is just endorsing how brilliant you are.
I have realized that when the comic book characters in question are ones that I'm not already familiar with,
Yeah.
I start understanding the reluctance a little bit more.
God, it's just, I just can't. Like you said, like I was like, oh, I found the one where she fights Superman. Great, I understand that. And then you're like, there are 15 times where she fought
Oh,
Superman and get wrecked. And I was
God.
like, I didn't read 15 times where she fought Superman. I read one time.
I am not reading 15 of those things.
I was like texting Dan earlier today going like, I'm trying to put together my argument. I don't know what's retconned and what's not.
Yeah.
What's happening? Fuck you,
yeah.
DC Comics. Why do you have to reboot your entire universe every year? And like, I know that Marvel has been doing this too lately, like a lot.
In a bit of a softer way, but
Yeah, and DC's been doing it since the 80s.
yeah.
So like, seriously? I love
In the
Wonder
words of-
Woman.
yeah.
I love Wonder Woman. Fuck you, DC Comics.
I was having this thought today about these whole giant continuity things. At a certain point, it feels like a weird, like, fictional, like, pyramid scheme that you have to get in on.
Oh, God.
And, like, you do it a little bit, and then it's like, oh, well, you have to do this, you have
Yeah.
to do this. And then, like, you have to guilt read comic books to know what's going
know.
on. And, it, like, that's what's driving me when I'm reading comics now. It's, like, guilt to, like, catch up on things. And I'm like, it's good, but can I just read a comic?
This is exactly my reluctance, because I want to get into it, but if I really want to understand it or really want to get into the character, I am in it for what, like $1,000 to get all the ones, because they've been through so many runs.
Well, you know, that's really interesting, because I think in the case of Marvel, at least, Walter Simonson's run on Thor, which is generally considered to be one of the great comic book runs, is a fantastic entry point.
Wait.
What?
Wait.
Pull it out? Yeah.
I'm holding it.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
gosh.
is such a great entry point for Marvel Comics, because you don't really need to know anything. It lays everything out,
Wow.
and like the rest of the Marvel universe comes into play
A little, but yeah.
occasionally, but for the most part, it's just Thor fucking out in space fighting aliens and monsters and giants and shit. It's great.
Listen to this.
That's real great.
Doesn't that sound good?
Oh, yeah. That
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, my brain's tingling.
Oh,
Move it to the other side of the
just
mic.
had an
Move it to the other
orgasm.
side of the mic.
God damn it. Stop.
Nice. I have to ask, like, about how y'all did research as well. Matthias, this was your first time ever having to do this. How did you do it?
I've done this kind of dumb research before. Dumb when I did it, not dumb for this show.
I mean, it's pretty dumb.
Yeah. I love looking up just obscure, dumb things. And then, of course, you listen to all the math I spewed out. I am not by any means a math major, but I love like looking at something and going, I wonder how much the Midgard serpent actually weighs. I wonder how much like that would mean if he had to lift 20 planets. And so, I mean, like that's where I started, was just like looking at everything that they've done and then going, okay, especially in DC, they seem to just be like, yeah, they can do this great thing. What does that mean specifically? Don't worry about it. They're just really cool. And like,
I remember one of the first things I decided was, okay, get the conversation off of physical strength as quickly as possible.
That was probably a good idea, Miles.
yeah.
Oh no, Dan hurt us. Oh.
Sorry.
I hope
didn't
you-
mean to eavesdrop.
I hope you'll factor that into your ruling. Oh, just one.
I mean,
Yeah, so we've had a lot of comic book matches on this show, you guys.
Yep.
And I thought Bob and I really got into the weeds with Superman versus Goku. But, like, the math that Team Thor was pulling out was jaw-dropping. First and foremost, before I say anything else, allow me to commend you guys for just really crunching the numbers on this and really underscoring how insane some of these feats are. And to that end, yes, I think we can all agree that physically speaking, Thor way outclasses Wonder Woman by a noticeable degree.
Yeah,
I'm not sure I like where this is
everybody.
going.
The other thing I had to consider, though, is while Thor did, find some temporary employment as a doctor, and while I don't think he's...
I don't like your tone. He's a real doctor.
Okay.
He's
not
made
a
an
real
android.
I acknowledge all of that. I will say, I feel as though that doesn't quite measure up to having judgment and intelligence granted to you by the goddess of wisdom. So I would say that Wonder Woman probably outclasses him in terms of intelligence and strategy. So, in my mind, the way fights like this usually go is, if you have a very strong person against a very smart person, then it kind of depends on how quickly I feel like the fight is going to be over. Because if I feel like the fight's going to be over quickly, then that gives the edge to the strong person. If I feel like the fight is going to be going on for a while, I feel like that gives the edge to the smarter person because they will have more time to study their opponent and sort of come up with a way around their strength to defeat them. I had to just imagine what was going to be happening in this fight and whether Thor was going to be able to knock her out before she could come up with a way around him and a way to defeat him. I was looking through some of the previous matches that I've judged to try to see if there was one I could remember that was more difficult than this, where both sides came up with better, stronger, more compelling arguments and rebuttals, and I had to go back a very long ways before I actually came to one. This was a very difficult conclusion for me to reach, but I think that this fight is going to go on long enough for Wonder Woman to pull out a win. So that's my verdict.
Wow.
But it was a very hard fought battle, and man, you guys. It was so good. The match is so beautiful.
Dan, your decision descriptions go on so long.
I know.
I love them.
I was like in pain
I love
the
them,
whole
but they
time.
have me on the edge of my seat.
Oh my god, I can't.
78 billion times the speed of light.
You're
Yes,
not wrong.
but
You can't
not
put
a real
it off in an
doctor.
atmosphere, my dude. It just doesn't work. There's a reason that was out in deep space.
Oh god, you guys were. I was scared from the moment you started talking. I'm frankly still frightened.
Well, I knew going in that Matias was a bit of a research fanatic.
That sword and that lasso made us so nervous. I was just like, oh man, if she gets that lasso around us, are we just done? Like,
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, that was a very strong point.
I was trying to think about it. I was like, I mean, maybe. And that sword's really sharp. Like, are we done?
It is
Like,
really
yeah.
sharp.
It's
Whereas I read about things like, God Force Blast, and I'm like, well, shit.
yeah. There was a lot of going.
Bracers?
yeah, question mark. Yeah. Like,
You all did fantastic, and Matias, thank you so
my
much for
God.
joining us. It was really a pleasure for you to
thank-
actually come on the show.
Oh, thank you guys
You're
very much.
amazing.
Tell us about the shit that you've got going on right now, man.
Oh, of course. I've been writing a novel for the past couple of years, an urban fantasy called The Paladin, and I've got the first 3 chapters up on my website. It's just my name, Matias, Matias, Tautimez, Tautimez.com. I'd love if anyone came and checked it out. I keep a blog on there daily. I've given a couple shout outs to you guys.
That's
Yeah,
so cool.
I've been following Matias's blog and your novel, sir, and we've talked about it a couple of times. It's really good stuff, and I encourage anyone who is into urban fantasy or really just good writing and storytelling to go check it out. He actually does write every day, which I didn't think anyone actually
my
did.
God.
I thought they just said they did, but Matias actually posts shit every fucking day, which is great for me because I don't understand it either, but it's a really cool blog.
you mean once a week, an hour before it's due, right?
no, every day.
Do you have like a dark spell you can share?
A lot of self-guilt.
Oh, okay. I need to.
Truly, you are the thunder god of urban
Yeah,
fantasy.
write that recipe out for me. I need it.
God, I'm glad I wasn't here for math. Time for the kid thanks without math. We have a lot of fucking people to thank because we had some catching up to do. First of all, I feel like we need to announce our early episodes are back. We had like a RSS feed issue. So if you are kind of new to the show and you missed like the first 20 or so episodes, go back to the beginning and listen to our worst shit ever.
I like our early episodes. I think they're good.
Thank you so much to everybody who busted their asses on social media to get us into the PodCon newsletter.
Oh my God.
Holy shit,
yeah.
it took like 2 days and we were in. Thank you guys.
Yeah, that was great.
You're the greatest.
Also, I believe, Dan, you're the one who found this. Someone called Jen Ben on betterapp.us was pimping us to people.
There was a message board I happened to run across randomly.
Like a
where-
stalker, just fucking...
Like a stalker, where people were discussing what their favorite podcasts were. And someone happened to mention us in the same breath as Night Vale, which is, you know,
Holy shit.
That was a mistake.
yeah. So, you know, you'll regret it later, but we appreciate you guys talking about us when you can.
All right. I'm going to rattle off a bunch of awesome people. On Twitter, thank you to Feared and Scarenolds, Raphael Medina, Brad Boltman, Blorian, Cosplay Fiend, Sharon Schneiderman, Mike Booch, Aiden Wells, Jake the Fake Jake, Shit My Cam Says, you're new, Fake Scott Kersey, you're also new, Cynical Realist, oh my god, James Gravestock, Mike Booch, The Gameable Podcast, hey guys.
You said Mike Booch twice.
Oh, I did?
Yep.
Sup, Mike Booch? This list is so long, I can't keep track of it.
It's just one big loop.
DK, Cringe,
Yeah, maybe now we know why the list is so long.
Yeah, oh god, now we're back to Florian. No!
And someone named Matias Tautimez, so,
Find the weirdest people online.
Over to Tumblr, thank you to Forte Joestar, G Prime, Pizamon, Myampharos86, Changing Shades, Sid Rabbit Blog, Creepy David Bowie, I love your name, Geek Haven, and Fatblunt69.
Back to the Fat
69!
And then on Facebook, thank you to Daniel Kidder, Jeffrey Ketchum, David Waters, Florian, Cam Brogdon, Charlie Grant, Anton Belaine, Robert Ramsey, and also again, Matias Tautimez. Thank you.
So we wanted to thank our featured patron for this particular episode, Viola Sanderlin. Or should we
What's up,
say,
Viola?
Yeah.
Violoki Sanderloki.
Oh, if you rearrange the letters, it spells that. I didn't notice.
Well, rearranged
Wait,
and then
so-
also changed several.
No, it's fine.
So Loki, aka Viola, got her name mentioned on this particular episode because she is a patron of ours and she donated at least $1 a month, and as a result, we work her into our storyline. We also wanted to thank David Waters, another patron. He donates at the $10 a month level, which means that after 3 months, he got to dictate a match to us, and that match was this match, Thor versus Wonder Woman. He also helped to supply me with the idea for this episode's lightning round, which involved dueling YouTube shows and a very angry Miles. So thank you to David Waters.
Finally, thank you to Eugene Zhou. He wrote us like the sweetest, the fucking sweetest email. So
That email was so good. It I can't express how warm my cockles
I
were
know.
after
Like,
reading that.
so
They were like
Eugene?
supernova levels
The
of heat.
Miles' small heart grew 3 sizes that day.
I mean, let's not go
I heard
crazy.
you say his
2.5 sizes at most.
besides all the amazing things Eugene said, he also said he was going to go to PodCon. So, oh my God, we cannot wait to fucking see you there. I think I remember seeing you on Twitter. So, like, private message us if that's the case, so that way we can, like, meet up with you easily once we
Yeah,
get
and
there.
like if anybody else is going to PodCon, then hit us up
Yeah.
because Dan, Kit, and I will definitely be there,
And I will probably be there.
and Claire will probably be there. So
And
yeah,
I could be there, maybe.
yes,
You
if the
should be
stars
there.
align.
I wanted to plug an appearance that I've been making on another podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Voice of All. It's a Magic the Gathering audio drama podcast. So, look, if you were to draw a Venn diagram of my interests, like that's basically me right in the center. So, but yeah, I recently joined the cast for that particular show. I actually narrated a recent episode called Shapers, and I'm also a character in it. If you want to hear me act and or just want to hear some really cool adaptations of Magic the Gathering stories, check out Voice of All. Thank you to all of you for joining us this week on Smash Fiction. Next week, our match will be Roger Rabbit versus The Mask. Smash Fiction is produced by Miles Schneiderman and production assistant Sharon Schneiderman, with logo design by Claire Mulcairn.
Special thanks to Kevin McLeod of the Clan McLeod at Incompetech.com for our theme song, Hitman.
You can find us on Twitter at SmashFic Podcast and search for the Smash Fiction Podcast on Facebook, Tumblr, and YouTube.
Subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice, and if you leave us a good review, we shall become more powerful than you can possibly imagine.
Smash Fiction is made possible thanks to our supporters on Patreon at patreon.com/smashfictionpodcast. Please consider donating as little as $1 each month. It helps us keep the show going. And we have great rewards and extra content for those who help us out.
If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other contributions, send them to us at smashfictionpodcast@gmail.com and help us continue the fight. That's fine. I don't even understand what this is.
Making a YouTube show.
You have to make a YouTube show. Tell me what it is. Tell me
what's a YouTube show? How are there shows on YouTube?
Oh, Miles.
What are you talking about?
Dear sweet Miles.
I know, I'm kind of like in the same Luddite boat of going, huh?
So people make recurring, weekly or monthly or whatever shows on YouTube of various kinds. A lot of times it's someone talking to a camera. It'll be like makeup tips or different things, like whatever it is. Like there's,
there's like let's play video games.
Yeah, like streaming or whatever, that kind of thing.
It's like a podcast, but has video, my dude.
Well, that sounds fucking stupid.
Whenever you guys are ready to go, you may go right ahead.
Bob, I got your text. I don't know what that means.
Oh no, okay, oh shit. I don't know how to explain that to you very quickly.
Okay. God damn it, Dan.
Okay.
You know what? Next time I judge, you're fucking rapping again.
In fairness, the suggestion for this lightning round was given to us by the person who dictated it, so I can only bear so much of this burden.
And I will hold you responsible for all of that burden that
That's
you bear.
fair.
I will hear nothing bad said of David Waters. Nothing.
Yeah, right?
I know, that's why I'm blaming it on Dan.
Alright, that's fine then.
Man, why didn't I fucking grow up in the 50s? Let's do radio.
What, where you didn't have to worry about YouTube?
Or any of this internet jargon bullshit, man. I'm getting really tired of all of it, to be honest.
I love the idea that you would travel back in time to an arguably much worse period of time just to get away from YouTube.
I realize this makes me feel like so much more of a grumpy old